Hello and welcome to Infinity Beyond. I'm glad you're here. As you settle in for the night, perhaps tucked beneath a soft blanket, eyes growing heavier with each quiet breath, I invite you to join me on a journey through one of the most fascinating and invisible processes keeping you alive, the story of oxygen in your body. Now, I'll do my best not to make it too interesting, but in the unfortunate event that you stay awake because your brain is too busy whispering, "Wait, red blood cells do what now?" Well, at least you'll drift off a little wiser than before. Before we dive into the science, a quick note. This video is designed to be informative and calming, perfect for bedtime learning. If you find yourself dozing off mid-sentence, don't worry. That's kind of the point. Now, let's breathe together, gently and slowly. Oxygen. It's all around us, filling our lungs with each breath, yet invisible and often overlooked. But this tiny molecule is essential for life as we know it. From your very first breath, even before you cried out as a newborn, oxygen had already started its journey within you. Long before humans even existed, oxygen played a starring role in the evolution of life on Earth. Billions of years ago, primitive organisms began releasing it as a byproduct of photosynthesis, slowly transforming Earth's atmosphere. Over millennia, this oxygen-rich air gave rise to complex life, including creatures with big, oxygen-hungry brains, like us. So how does oxygen actually work inside you? Let's start with a breath. You inhale, and the air rushes down your trachea, branching into your lungs where millions of tiny air sacs called alveoli await. These alveoli are where the magic happens. Each one is surrounded by capillaries, microscopic blood vessels, and it's here that oxygen makes its move. From the alveoli, oxygen diffuses through thin membranes into your bloodstream. But oxygen doesn't just float freely in your blood. No, it hitches a ride on hemoglobin, the iron-rich protein found in red blood cells. Think of hemoglobin as a tiny oxygen taxi, ready to deliver life to every corner of your body. Each red blood cell contains about 270 million hemoglobin molecules, and each of those can carry 4 oxygen molecules. That's more than 1 billion oxygen passengers per cell. These cells travel from your lungs to your heart, where they're pumped through arteries, coursing through your limbs, organs, and brain. And here's where it gets even more incredible. Once the oxygen reaches your cells, it enters tiny structures called mitochondria. These are often described as the powerhouses of the cell. Within the mitochondria, oxygen helps convert glucose, the sugar from food, into ATP, the energy currency that powers nearly everything your body does. Every heartbeat, every thought, every blink of your eyes is fueled by this elegant dance of chemistry. This process, known as cellular respiration, is incredibly efficient. Without oxygen, cells switch to a far less effective method called anaerobic respiration, which produces only a fraction of the energy and leads to the buildup of lactic acid, the stuff that makes your muscles burn after intense exercise. Now, while all of this might sound like high school biology, there's a quiet poetry to it. The air you breathe, the invisible gas passing through your nose right now, is constantly feeding your cells, your mind, and your existence. You don't have to think about it, it just happens, tirelessly, night and day. Imagine, in this very moment, over 25 trillion red blood cells are circulating in your body, delivering oxygen with astonishing precision. They know where to go, how fast to move, and when to release their cargo. And when their journey ends, they make way for new cells, born in your bone marrow, ready to take up the mission. This never-ending cycle is one of nature's quiet miracles. And while we often chase the grand mysteries of the universe, black holes, galaxies, and alien life, sometimes the most profound wonder is happening right inside us. And so, as you lay there listening, perhaps now breathing a little deeper, know that each breath is a love letter to life. Oxygen, unassuming and invisible, is your most loyal companion, and it's been with you, whispering life, from the very beginning. At Infinity Beyond, we'll continue exploring these hidden marvels of the human body and the cosmos. But for now, rest easy. Let the breath flow in and out, naturally, slowly. And if you're still awake, well, there's so much more to discover. Welcome back to Infinity Beyond. Now that we've taken our first breath and understood the fundamental journey of oxygen into the body, it's time to follow that invisible molecule further. Where does it go after reaching your bloodstream? How does it know where to deliver its vital payload? And what happens when the oxygen is finally used up? Imagine your body as a vast, bustling city. The red blood cells are the tireless delivery vehicles, rushing through the vascular highways and side streets, always on time, always en route to their destinations. These microscopic couriers carry oxygen to nearly every one of your 37 trillion cells. But how do they know where to go? It all comes down to gradients. Your blood is smart, or rather, it's guided by natural laws. Oxygen moves from areas of high concentration to areas of low concentration. When a red blood cell packed with oxygen arrives at a tissue that's low on it, say, a working muscle or a thinking brain, the oxygen detaches from hemoglobin and diffuses across the capillary wall into the hungry cell. This is no random act. It's directed, elegant, and efficient. Let's say you've just gone for a short jog. Your muscles are crying out for oxygen. Red blood cells flood the area, unloading oxygen faster than ever before. At the same time, your lungs are working harder. Your heart is pumping faster, all to keep up with the demand. It's a full-body symphony of balance, responding to the smallest of needs. Once the oxygen is delivered, red blood cells aren't done. They then collect carbon dioxide, the waste product of cellular respiration, and begin the return trip to the lungs. There, CO2 is exchanged for fresh oxygen, and the cycle begins again. It's breathtaking in its simplicity and breathtaking in its complexity. This highway system of delivery and pickup is crucial to everything you do, even while you sleep. Right now, as you lie still, your body continues this endless loop, silently supporting every organ, every process, every dream. Did you know that your brain uses about 20% of your body's oxygen? That's more than any other organ. Though it weighs only about 2% of your total body mass, the brain is a powerhouse of activity. Neurons firing, signals bouncing, memories forming, all of it powered by oxygen. If the supply is interrupted for even a few minutes, the consequences can be profound. And yet, you never have to ask your body to make this happen. You never direct it. You never have to worry. It just does it. Perfectly. Relentlessly. Even more fascinating is how oxygen levels influence your body's responses. For instance, when you ascend to higher altitudes, oxygen becomes scarcer. Your body senses the drop, and almost immediately it begins producing more red blood cells to compensate. That's why climbers and athletes train at elevation. It forces their bodies to become more efficient oxygen machines. But there's a flip side too. When oxygen becomes too limited, as in certain diseases or injuries, your body can struggle to maintain balance. Cells begin to suffer. Organs slow down. That's why oxygen therapy exists, to support the body when its natural mechanisms are overwhelmed. The system also has its guardians, specialized sensors in your arteries that monitor oxygen and carbon dioxide levels. These sensors constantly send signals to your brainstem, adjusting your breathing rate accordingly. It's like cruise control for your respiratory system. One of the most mesmerizing aspects of all this is just how small the players are. Hemoglobin, the protein that binds oxygen, is a complex molecule built from atoms, iron, carbon, nitrogen, and hydrogen, arranged in a precise structure. Without iron, for example, it wouldn't work. That's why iron deficiency anemia is such a concern. Without enough iron, you can't make enough effective hemoglobin, and your oxygen transport system falters. From the level of entire systems down to individual atoms, the oxygen delivery process is one of the most finely tuned networks in biology. But let's step back for a moment. Think about your last deep breath. You probably didn't give it much thought. You didn't marvel at the alveoli or applaud your hemoglobin. Yet inside that single breath was a cascade of microscopic miracles, a legacy of evolution, a dance choreographed over billions of years. At Infinity Beyond, we believe these hidden marvels deserve the spotlight. Not just the stars in the sky, but the stars within you. The processes, the systems, the wonders that make life possible. As we rest, reflect, and recharge, it's comforting to know that within us, an orchestra of molecules is hard at work, playing a silent symphony that keeps us alive. And as oxygen travels its path, you can rest knowing your body is wise, ancient, and profoundly capable. So let go of the day. Let the breath in. Let it go. And with it, let yourself drift. This is only the beginning. The journey of oxygen doesn't end at delivery. There's so much more to uncover about what happens when it goes wrong, how your cells respond, and what science is learning about optimizing every breath you take. So stay tuned, and as always, breathe easy. Welcome back to Infinity Beyond. In our last segment, we followed oxygen from your lungs, through your blood, and to the very cells that depend on it. But now we enter a deeper level, a microscopic realm where oxygen meets its true purpose, creating energy. Let's shrink down, far beyond the bloodstream, beyond the cellular membrane, and into the inner machinery of life, the mitochondria. Every living cell in your body, except red blood cells, contains these tiny structures. Mitochondria are often referred to as the powerhouses of the cell, and for good reason. They are the final destination for oxygen, the end of its journey through your body. And what happens here is nothing short of miraculous. Inside each mitochondrion, oxygen participates in a complex process called oxidative phosphorylation. It's a long name, but here's what it means. Oxygen helps convert the food you eat into energy your cells can actually use. That energy comes in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Let's pause here. ATP is like the currency your body spends to get things done. From contracting a muscle to firing a neuron, from healing a wound to maintaining your heartbeat, it all runs on ATP. And ATP exists because oxygen finishes its sacred task inside your mitochondria. But the process is intricate. Nutrients like glucose are broken down in earlier stages of metabolism, creating molecules called NADH and FADH2. These molecules deliver electrons to the electron transport chain, a sequence of proteins embedded in the inner membrane of the mitochondria. As electrons move through the chain, they create a flow of energy that pumps protons across the membrane, building a gradient. And finally, this gradient powers an enzyme called ATP synthase, which produces ATP. Oxygen's role: it accepts the electrons at the end of the chain, combining with hydrogen to form water. Without oxygen, this entire system would grind to a halt. It's chemistry, it's physics, it's life itself, all wrapped into a delicate balance maintained in every single cell. The efficiency of mitochondria is astounding. One molecule of glucose, in the presence of oxygen, can yield up to 36 molecules of ATP, but without oxygen, that number drops drastically to just 2 ATP through anaerobic respiration, a much less effective emergency backup process. This is why oxygen is so critical, not just to stay alive, but to thrive. When oxygen is in short supply, during intense exercise, respiratory illness, or in environments with low air quality, cells resort to anaerobic metabolism. This produces lactic acid, which causes the burning sensation in muscles and leads to fatigue. It's your body's way of saying, "We need oxygen, now." Beyond energy, mitochondria play a role in cell signaling, growth, and even programmed cell death, a natural process called apoptosis. They're not just powerhouses, they're regulators, decision-makers, and caretakers of your cellular health. And they're deeply affected by how well oxygen reaches them. Some diseases, like mitochondrial disorders or chronic hypoxia, disrupt this process. When mitochondria don't get enough oxygen or can't use it properly, the entire system starts to fail. Organs weaken, muscles tire. The brain struggles to think clearly. It's a domino effect, showing just how essential oxygen is at every level. But here's the beautiful part. Your body adapts. With regular aerobic exercise, for example, your body increases both the number and efficiency of mitochondria. You essentially build more engines to handle more fuel, all powered by oxygen. Your cardiovascular system becomes more effective at delivering that oxygen, and your muscles become better at using it. Sleep, nutrition, hydration, they all support the mitochondrial oxygen connection. Even meditation and deep breathing exercises can improve oxygen efficiency and cellular function. There's a harmony here, one we often ignore. In the rush of daily life, it's easy to forget that inside every cell, a dance is occurring. One that began billions of years ago with the first oxygen-producing organisms. That same oxygen flows through you today. And perhaps what's most humbling is how all of this happens without conscious thought. While you dream, your mitochondria are still working. While you sleep, they continue making ATP. Your breath is their fuel, and their fire keeps you warm, moving, alive. At Infinity Beyond, we explore not just the grand questions of the universe, but the quiet truths within ourselves. Mitochondria may be microscopic, but their impact is monumental. So tonight, as you rest, consider the silent storm of life within. Each breath you take feeds a symphony of processes, ancient and elegant, precise and profound. From your lungs to your blood to your very cells, oxygen is a traveler with purpose. And in the mitochondria, it fulfills its destiny. Close your eyes, breathe in deeply, and let that oxygen do what it was born to do, bring light and energy to every part of you. This is Infinity Beyond, where even the smallest forces hold infinite meaning. Welcome back to Infinity Beyond. So far, we've followed oxygen on its epic journey, from breath to bloodstream, into cells, and finally into the mitochondria, where life's energy is born. But what happens when that oxygen doesn't arrive? In this segment, we explore what happens when oxygen delivery is disrupted, the body's response to oxygen deprivation, and its astonishing backup systems. Let's imagine a scenario. Perhaps you're running a marathon or climbing to a high altitude. Maybe you're experiencing a health emergency like asthma or heart failure. In each case, your cells are suddenly faced with a critical challenge: less oxygen. When oxygen levels drop, your body doesn't panic. It shifts. It adapts. The first change occurs in your respiratory system. Sensors in your arteries detect falling oxygen and rising carbon dioxide. These sensors immediately signal the brain's respiratory center, increasing your breathing rate. Faster breaths bring in more oxygen and help expel excess CO. Simultaneously, your heart begins to beat faster. The goal? Circulate what oxygen is available more rapidly to where it's needed most: your brain, heart, and essential muscles. This is triage at a molecular level, and if the oxygen shortfall continues, your cells initiate Plan B, anaerobic respiration. As we touched on earlier, this oxygen-free method produces far less ATP and generates lactic acid as a byproduct. You might feel this as burning in your muscles, fatigue, or nausea. It's a warning sign. Your cells are under stress, but your body is prepared for short-term sacrifices. It begins prioritizing. Blood vessels in the skin and digestive tract may constrict, redirecting blood to critical organs. You become pale. Your stomach slows digestion. All non-essential functions pause. Every available resource goes toward preserving life. This emergency mode is ancient, a product of evolution, honed over millions of years to survive famine, injury, or threat. In extreme conditions, your body produces more red blood cells, thickening the blood to carry more oxygen. Athletes who train at altitude or patients recovering from chronic hypoxia experience this adaptation. It's not instant, but it's remarkably effective. Some animals have even more dramatic strategies. Turtles, for example, can survive for months underwater by reducing their metabolic rate and switching entirely to anaerobic metabolism. Human babies, too, show remarkable resilience in the womb, living in low-oxygen environments until their first breath. But while these emergency systems are remarkable, they come at a cost. Prolonged oxygen deprivation, hypoxia, is dangerous. Brain cells begin dying within minutes. Organs fail. The immune system weakens. If the mitochondria can't receive oxygen, they can't produce energy, and the cell's internal balance collapses. In certain medical conditions, this process accelerates. In strokes, for example, a blocked blood vessel deprives part of the brain of oxygen. Without immediate intervention, the affected brain cells begin to die. In heart attacks, the same thing happens in heart muscle tissue. Understanding how the body responds to hypoxia has transformed emergency medicine. From oxygen masks to hyperbaric chambers, from altitude training to ventilators. Scientists are even exploring oxygen-carrying drugs and synthetic blood substitutes that can mimic hemoglobin. But oxygen failure doesn't always mean physical trauma. Psychological stress, sleep apnea, chronic inflammation, all can interfere with oxygen delivery and cellular respiration. Even aging itself may be tied to mitochondrial decline, a kind of slow suffocation at the cellular level. As we age, our ability to deliver and use oxygen efficiently diminishes. Muscles weaken, memory fades, healing slows. But there is hope and power in understanding this. By supporting your body's natural oxygen systems, you can improve your health in profound ways. Exercise increases lung capacity and cardiovascular strength. Sleep restores mitochondrial function. Breathwork can calm the nervous system and enhance oxygen use. Even posture matters. Standing tall allows your lungs to fully expand. Every breath counts. At Infinity Beyond, we believe knowledge is more than power. It's peace. When you understand how your body responds to crisis, you no longer fear it. You respect it. You support it. You honor it. So tonight, breathe a little deeper. Give your cells what they crave. Remember the ancient systems within you, always on guard, always adapting. You are not fragile. You are resilient. And as oxygen once gave rise to the first complex life on Earth, it continues that legacy in you, powering thought, emotion, movement, and rest. The story of oxygen isn't just about survival. It's about rebirth, recovery, and adaptation. It's about the balance between power and surrender, between effort and trust. So breathe in, breathe out, and let your body do what it was designed to do. This is Infinity Beyond, and this is how you survive the night. Welcome back to Infinity Beyond. In our last chapter, we examined how the body reacts when oxygen levels drop, how it shifts gears to survive. But survival is only one part of the story. The more remarkable part is how your body balances oxygen every second. Not in crisis, but in calm. This segment is about equilibrium, about the delicate, constant dance of oxygen delivery, usage, and renewal happening within you right now, even as you sit or lie still, breathing gently. You see, your body isn't just reacting to oxygen needs, it's anticipating them. Let's start with your lungs. They're not just passive air balloons, they're highly responsive organs. With each breath, they adjust based on carbon dioxide levels in your blood, not oxygen, interestingly. It's CO2 that tells your brain when to breathe more or less. Too much CO2? You breathe faster. Too little? Your breath slows. It's a tight feedback loop, minute by minute. The sensors responsible for this live in your brainstem and your carotid arteries, specialized cells called chemoreceptors. They constantly analyze blood chemistry and communicate with your respiratory centers. The goal? Homeostasis, a perfect balance of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and pH. Now, let's travel down from your lungs to your bloodstream. Your circulatory system, the arteries, veins, and capillaries, acts like a finely tuned logistics network. Blood flow increases where oxygen demand rises. That's why exercising muscles get red and warm. More blood is flowing there, bringing oxygen and nutrients. This localized control is called autoregulation. Capillaries can widen or narrow based on signals from nearby tissues. It's decentralized intelligence, your body giving more oxygen exactly where it's needed without a command from your conscious mind. Your heart plays a central role too. Each beat is part of a dynamic adjustment. If you're calm, it slows down. If you stand, run, laugh, or cry, it speeds up, matching your oxygen needs second by second. It's not just a pump. It's an adaptive engine. Even your red blood cells respond in real time. When they pass through low oxygen environments, they release more oxygen. When they encounter tissues already saturated, they hold on to it for longer. It's cooperative, responsive, and efficient. And all of this happens without you thinking about it. That's the beauty of the autonomic nervous system. It governs these processes in the background, allowing you to focus on life while your body focuses on survival and performance. But did you know you can influence this system consciously? With practices like deep diaphragmatic breathing, meditation, or paced respiration, you can shift your body into a parasympathetic state, lowering heart rate, improving oxygen efficiency, and even calming inflammation. You can activate your vagus nerve, increase heart rate variability, and enhance cellular repair. Science has only recently begun to understand how powerful breathwork can be. It's not just a relaxation tool. It's a biological intervention. When you breathe slowly and deeply, you increase alveolar ventilation. More oxygen reaches your bloodstream. Your brain gets calmer. Your heart synchronizes with your breath. It's a full-body reset, accessible at any time. Imagine that, a power you can use, anywhere, anytime, to rebalance your entire internal system. That's what oxygen allows. And beyond the physical, there's something deeply spiritual about breath. Across cultures and religions, breath has been seen as life force. Prana, chi, spiritus. We now know that this ancient wisdom had scientific truth behind it. Breath is not only symbolic of life, it is life. Let's pause together now. Take a breath in through your nose, slowly, deeply. Hold it for a moment. Now exhale gently through your mouth. Feel your body respond. You may feel your shoulders drop, your chest soften. Your heart might slow. That's not just emotion, it's biology. It's oxygen reshaping your inner landscape. And here's what's extraordinary. This process doesn't stop while you sleep. As you dream, your respiratory rate adjusts to your sleep stage. In REM sleep, it may become irregular. In deep sleep, it slows dramatically, allowing recovery and healing. Even your position while sleeping can affect oxygen balance. Sleeping on your side can improve airflow. Poor posture during the day can reduce lung capacity. It's all connected. So often we look outward, to the stars, to space, to science fiction. But some of the most futuristic technology is already inside us. Your oxygen regulation system is more advanced than any life support machine. It's self-regulating, adaptive, and nearly impossible to replicate artificially. At Infinity Beyond, we honor this system not just as a topic of curiosity, but as a marvel of design. Nature didn't need code or circuitry to build it. It used atoms, cells, and breath. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, know that while your conscious mind rests, your breath will continue. Your body will continue to balance, restore, and heal. Powered by oxygen, shaped by evolution, sustained by something so simple, yet so essential. You are not separate from the air around you. You are part of it. With every inhale, you exchange atoms with the trees, the oceans, and the atmosphere. You participate in a cycle as old as life itself. So breathe with wonder. Breathe with gratitude. Because in that breath, there is life, there is balance, there is you. This is Infinity Beyond, where science meets stillness. Welcome back to Infinity Beyond. So far, we've traced the journey of oxygen within your body, from breath to blood to cells. But where does oxygen come from in the first place? And where does it go when it leaves you? To truly understand oxygen, we must zoom out, far beyond the human body, beyond Earth, and into the stars. Let's begin at the beginning. Billions of years ago, in the hearts of dying stars, heavier elements were forged in intense nuclear reactions. Among them, oxygen. These stars exploded in supernovae, scattering their elemental contents across the galaxy. That stardust eventually coalesced into planets, oceans, and life. Yes, the oxygen you're breathing right now was created in ancient stars. On Earth, the story continues. For the first 2 billion years, Earth's atmosphere had little to no oxygen. Life existed, but it was microscopic and anaerobic. Then, about 2.4 billion years ago, photosynthetic organisms, cyanobacteria, began producing oxygen as a byproduct. This led to what scientists call the Great Oxygenation Event. It transformed Earth's atmosphere and triggered one of the most profound shifts in the history of life. Oxygen levels rose, and with it came more complex, energy-hungry organisms. Every tree, every leaf, every breath of wind carries the echo of that transformation. Today, Earth's oxygen is continually renewed through photosynthesis, the magical process by which plants, algae, and certain bacteria convert sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide into glucose and oxygen. It's a perfect partnership. Humans and animals inhale oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. Plants do the reverse. A global breath shared across continents, species, and centuries. And this isn't just poetic, it's practical. Rainforests, especially the Amazon, produce a significant portion of the world's oxygen. Oceans, through phytoplankton, contribute even more. Tiny sea creatures, invisible to the naked eye, produce half the oxygen in our atmosphere. Your body, in essence, depends on the health of forests, oceans, and microscopic life forms far away. When you breathe, you're part of a planetary rhythm. But the cycle doesn't stop at exhalation. When oxygen leaves your cells, it's transformed. It becomes carbon dioxide, CO2, a molecule just as vital. It travels back to your lungs and is released into the air. That CO2 might feed a tree in a park or a coral reef in the sea. You are not just a consumer of oxygen. You are a participant in the cycle of life. This awareness brings both awe and responsibility. As human activity increases greenhouse gases and deforestation spreads, we risk tipping the balance of this oxygen-carbon cycle. Climate change, pollution, and habitat destruction threaten the very systems that keep us breathing. Understanding oxygen means understanding our role in the larger biosphere. The breath inside your lungs connects you to the cosmos, to ancient stars, to trees across the world, to algae drifting in sunlight on ocean waves. You are not separate from the earth. You are made of it. You contribute to it. And perhaps when we grasp this, our choices shift. We breathe more consciously. We live more gently. At Infinity Beyond, we celebrate this cosmic connection, the unbroken thread between science, nature, and self. You don't have to look to galaxies to feel wonder. It's in your next breath. Consider this. Every molecule of oxygen you inhale may have been breathed before by another creature. By a bird, a whale, a dinosaur, or even another human, centuries ago. Air is shared, recycled, and reborn. This is not a metaphor. It's chemistry. The same atoms flow through the ages, linking you to the past, the present, and all life on this planet. And when you exhale, you offer something back, not just carbon, but warmth, moisture, part of your story. In meditation and breathwork traditions, people are taught to follow their breath, to be present with the inhale and the exhale. In doing so, they touch the eternal, the cycles that never stop, that cradle all living things. Science now affirms what ancient wisdom knew. Breath is the bridge between body and world. So tonight, as you lie still, imagine the stars, imagine the forests, imagine tiny ocean creatures floating in the tide, releasing life with every flick of a fin. You are part of that. You are essential. You are breathing not just for yourself, but with the entire living earth. Let your breath deepen. Let your heart slow. And know that in this quiet moment, surrounded by air, held by gravity, you are exactly where you belong. This is Infinity Beyond, where your next breath begins in the stars. Welcome back to Infinity Beyond. In our previous journey, we followed oxygen across the cosmos and back into our lungs, linking stars to cells in a breathtaking cycle. But now, let's shift focus inward once more, to the organ that consumes more oxygen than any other, your brain. The human brain weighs only about 2% of your body's mass, but it uses nearly 20% of the oxygen you breathe. That's an astonishing figure, and a reflection of just how metabolically demanding your thoughts, feelings, and memories really are. Let's begin with a single breath. As oxygen enters your lungs and travels through your blood, a priority delivery is made directly to the brain. Arteries in your neck, the carotid arteries, branch off, sending rich, oxygenated blood to every lobe, fold, and neuron in your head. Why such urgency? Because neurons, the primary cells of the brain, are incredibly active. Even when you're resting, your brain is processing sensory input, maintaining body temperature, coordinating breath and heartbeat, and generating your experience of reality. Neurons rely on a constant, uninterrupted supply of ATP, the energy currency created in mitochondria. And as we know, oxygen is essential to that production. Interrupt the oxygen flow even briefly, and neurons begin to fail. Within minutes of total deprivation, brain damage occurs. Within 10 minutes, irreversible harm is likely. That's why strokes, heart attacks, and carbon monoxide poisoning are so dangerous. They compromise the brain's oxygen supply. But let's look at what happens under normal conditions. As you read, listen, or even dream, billions of neurons fire electrical impulses. These impulses use energy to open channels, exchange ions, and communicate across tiny gaps called synapses. Every time you recall a memory, learn something new, or feel an emotion, oxygen is being spent. Even emotions require oxygen. The amygdala, the region responsible for processing fear and pleasure, lights up when you're startled or comforted. The hippocampus, critical for forming long-term memories, relies on a steady stream of oxygen-rich blood to encode your experiences. Creativity, focus, mood, all are influenced by the availability of oxygen. Have you ever noticed how your thinking becomes foggy when you're tired or anxious? That's not just mental exhaustion, it's often a sign of reduced oxygen delivery. Stress causes shallow breathing. Shallow breathing reduces oxygen intake. The brain gets less fuel, and your clarity dims. That's why deep, slow breathing is so often used in therapy, mindfulness, and meditation. It restores oxygen flow and calms the brain. Interestingly, the brain has a unique way of regulating its own oxygen needs. This process is called neurovascular coupling. When a region of your brain becomes active, say, your visual cortex while watching a movie, local blood flow increases to match that activity. More blood means more oxygen. This adaptability is one reason why brain scans like fMRI work. They detect changes in blood oxygenation to map brain function. Even during sleep, oxygen plays a pivotal role. In deep sleep, your brain clears out metabolic waste through a newly discovered system called the glymphatic system. It's like a cleaning crew that sweeps away cellular debris, a process that's impaired without proper oxygenation. Oxygen also affects brain aging. Chronic low oxygen levels, known as cerebral hypoxia, have been linked to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. Maintaining good oxygen flow through lifestyle choices, movement, breathwork, sleep, is a crucial part of cognitive health. Let's take this a step further. What happens when we optimize oxygen delivery to the brain? Athletes use high-altitude training to stimulate red blood cell production. Some biohackers use hyperbaric oxygen therapy, HBOT, breathing pure oxygen in pressurized chambers to enhance healing, reduce inflammation, and potentially improve brain function. While research is ongoing, early studies show promise for recovery after brain injuries, reducing symptoms of PTSD, and even improving attention in certain cases. But perhaps the most powerful way to support your brain's oxygen needs is also the simplest: breathing well. That means nasal breathing, slow breathing, and conscious breathing. Unlike rapid chest breathing, which brings in less air and creates tension, diaphragmatic breathing draws oxygen deeper into the lungs, closer to the bloodstream, closer to your brain. Try this with me now. Inhale gently through your nose. Counts 1, 2, 3, hold, and exhale softly. 1, 2, 3, 4. You may already feel a shift, a softening in the forehead, a calm in the chest. That's oxygen doing its work. At Infinity Beyond, we believe understanding the brain isn't just about studying neurons. It's about appreciating the invisible forces, like oxygen, that sustain every thought, every idea, and every moment of being. Tonight, as you lay your head down, know that your brain is still active. It's still breathing, learning, filing away memories, restoring itself. And with each breath, you are feeding the most complex object in the known universe, your mind. So breathe in intelligence. Breathe out noise. Let your thoughts settle like snow in a quiet forest. You are safe. You are supported. You are oxygenated. This is Infinity Beyond, where every thought begins with breath. Welcome back to Infinity Beyond. We've seen how oxygen powers your brain, fuels your cells, and connects you to the stars. But one of oxygen's most remarkable roles is also one of its quietest: healing. Yes, oxygen is a healer. From the moment you're injured, a scraped knee, a pulled muscle, a surgical wound, oxygen becomes your body's silent partner in repair. It rushes to the scene with nutrients, clears away waste, and helps rebuild what was damaged. Let's look at how this works. When tissue is damaged, the immune system responds immediately. White blood cells flood the area, releasing signals that widen nearby blood vessels, a process called vasodilation. This brings more oxygen-rich blood to the injury site. Oxygen is essential here. Without it, cells can't divide, build proteins, or generate energy needed to rebuild tissue. Collagen, the protein that holds skin and tissue together, requires oxygen to form. Blood vessels themselves won't grow without it. That's why wounds in poorly oxygenated areas, like the feet of diabetics or tissues affected by radiation, take longer to heal. And it's why oxygen therapy is used in hospitals, to speed recovery in difficult cases. In fact, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, HBOT, is a powerful medical treatment where patients breathe 100% oxygen in a pressurized chamber. This increases oxygen concentration in the blood, promoting healing in ways normal breathing can't. HBOT is used to treat everything from non-healing wounds to carbon monoxide poisoning, severe infections, radiation damage, and even traumatic brain injuries. It's a reminder that oxygen isn't just fuel, it's medicine. But healing isn't just physical. Oxygen also plays a key role in emotional recovery. During times of stress, anxiety, or grief, your body tenses, your breath shortens, and your oxygen intake decreases. This state can delay both emotional and physical healing. That's why practices like yoga, meditation, and deep breathing are so effective. They increase oxygen delivery, reduce stress hormones like cortisol, and signal to your body you are safe. You can begin to repair. Even in the immune system, oxygen makes a difference. White blood cells, particularly neutrophils and macrophages, require oxygen to kill bacteria and clean up dead tissue. A strong immune response is impossible without adequate oxygenation. When you're sick, your body craves rest and deeper breathing. It knows what it's doing. And sleep, perhaps the most restorative process of all, depends on stable oxygen delivery. During deep sleep, your body produces growth hormone, rebuilds muscle, and regenerates tissue. If oxygen is low, as with sleep apnea, these processes are interrupted, leading to fatigue, inflammation, and long-term health risks. The link between oxygen and inflammation is profound. Hypoxia, or oxygen deficiency, can trigger inflammatory responses throughout the body. Inflammation, in turn, can restrict blood flow, further lowering oxygen. It becomes a vicious cycle unless interrupted. Breathing well, then, is not just about survival. It's about thriving. It's about reducing recovery time, improving resilience, and enhancing immunity. Consider this. Elite athletes train not only their muscles but their lungs. They practice breath control to improve endurance and recovery. Singers and wind instrument musicians do the same. Their performance depends not just on strength, but on oxygen control. But you don't need to be an athlete to benefit. Simple breathing exercises, performed for a few minutes a day, can dramatically improve oxygen delivery. One popular method is box breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Exhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Repeat. This technique slows the heart, calms the nervous system, and restores oxygen balance. It's used by Navy SEALs, trauma therapists, and meditators alike. And the beauty? It's free. Available anytime. No equipment required. In a world filled with pills, treatments, and technologies, oxygen remains one of the most potent healers. And it's already within you. At Infinity Beyond, we believe in honoring both the science and simplicity of healing. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are constantly repairing, evolving, and recovering, powered by something as humble as a breath. So tonight, as you lie in stillness, know that healing is happening. Maybe not quickly, maybe not visibly, but within you, Cells are rebuilding, systems recalibrating, tissues knitting themselves whole again. And oxygen is there for all of it. Let your breath come slowly. Let your heart trust in its rhythm. Let every inhale remind you that recovery is real and you are part of it. You don't have to force healing. You only have to allow it. This is Infinity Beyond, where healing begins with breath. Welcome back to Infinity Beyond. We've explored oxygen in the body, the brain, and even in the stars. But now, let's step into a realm both scientific and soulful, your emotions. What if I told you that your breath is not just a function of survival, but a mirror of your inner world? That how you breathe can shape how you feel, and how you feel can shape how you breathe? Let's begin with something simple. Think about a time you were afraid, really afraid. Your breath became rapid, shallow, tight. That wasn't random. That was your body's response to threat, activating the sympathetic nervous system, preparing to fight or flee. Now, recall a moment of peace, sitting under a tree, hearing gentle music, holding someone's hand. Your breath slowed, it deepened, it softened. That was your parasympathetic nervous system taking over, your body's signal that it's safe to rest and digest. This feedback loop between breath and emotion is powerful, and it's built into your biology. Here's how it works. Your brainstem controls automatic breathing, but the limbic system, the emotional brain, can override it. That's why crying alters your breath, why laughter makes you gasp, why fear can take your breath away, literally. But the reverse is also true. You can change your emotional state by consciously changing your breath. This is not just poetic, it's measurable. Slow, controlled breathing has been shown to lower heart rate, reduce cortisol, and activate regions of the brain associated with calm and emotional regulation. In fact, therapies like somatic experiencing, trauma release, and breathwork are built around this principle, that the breath is the bridge between the body and the soul, and oxygen is the messenger on that bridge. When you breathe fully, you signal safety. You flood your body with oxygen, and in doing so, you send a message: all is well. That message isn't just felt in the mind, it's felt in the gut, the skin, the heart. Your entire body responds. This is why people often cry after a deep breath in therapy, or feel joy rise up unexpectedly during meditation. Oxygen moves emotion. It brings what's buried to the surface. Let's go deeper. Every emotion you experience, anger, sadness, love, awe, has a physiological signature. It affects your posture, your heartbeat, your blood flow, and yes, your breathing. But unlike thoughts, which are often tangled and noisy, breath is simple. It's always with you. It's always true. And it's always now. This makes it an anchor, a way to return to yourself when you feel lost. Many ancient traditions knew this. In yoga, breath is called prana, life force. In Chinese medicine, qi. In Hebrew, the word for spirit, ruach, also means breath. Indigenous cultures use breath as a rite of passage, a portal to wisdom. Modern science is catching up. Studies show that regular breath-based practices increase vagal tone, a marker of emotional resilience, that they enhance the connectivity of brain regions linked to empathy, awareness, and decision-making, that they help trauma survivors rewire their nervous systems, all through the power of oxygen. Let's try something. Breathe in for 4 seconds. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. Now again, slower this time. Notice what happens. Maybe your jaw relaxes. Maybe your thoughts slow. Maybe you feel, even for a second, more present. This is the intelligence of your body, and it's oxygen that makes it possible. Even creative states, what we call flow, are deeply tied to breath. Musicians, athletes, artists often describe moments of transcendence where breath and motion become one, where the self dissolves into expression, where time stops. That's not a mystery. That's physiology. The right balance of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and brainwave activity creates conditions for peak experience and deep presence. And here's the most beautiful part. You don't need to seek it far away. It's right here, in your chest, in your breath. At Infinity Beyond, we believe that science and self-discovery are not separate paths, that your inner world is just as vast as the cosmos, that every breath you take is both data and devotion. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, anxious, or disconnected, don't look outside. Don't fight your thoughts. Just return to your breath. Feel it enter your nose, fill your lungs, oxygenate your blood, fuel your heart, lift your chest, and then let it go. Let it carry with it whatever you no longer need. Let it remind you, you are alive. You are healing. You are here. You don't have to control every emotion, but you can ride them like waves, with breath as your anchor. Because oxygen doesn't just power your body, it powers your spirit. This is Infinity Beyond, where breath becomes your guide. Welcome back to Infinity Beyond. We've traveled far in this journey, through blood, breath, stars, memory, and healing. But now it's time to pause and truly acknowledge the quiet force behind it all. Oxygen. It's easy to take for granted. It has no smell, no color, no taste. You can't hold it in your hand, and yet it holds you in every moment. Without it, nothing you know as life would be possible. Oxygen doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. It simply moves, invisibly, gracefully, and endlessly, from lungs to cells, from stars to binds, from one breath to the next. So why do we overlook it? Maybe because it's always been there, like the friend who always shows up, who never complains, who gives and gives, quietly, until we forget they're giving anything at all. Let's take a moment to remember. Oxygen is born in the cores of stars. It makes up 21% of Earth's atmosphere. It fuels every muscle, every organ, every dream. It creates energy, supports immunity, repairs wounds, and calms the mind. It has been with you since your first breath, and it will carry you through your last. And what's more, oxygen doesn't discriminate. It gives itself freely. To the strong and the weak, to the young and the old, to the tree and the lion, to the artist, the teacher, the child asleep in their mother's arms. It asks for nothing in return, and yet everything in return depends on it. You could say oxygen is the ultimate act of grace, the quiet miracle that sustains existence. But now, science is catching up to this ancient truth. More than ever, we're discovering how oxygen supports the body not just in times of crisis, but in every heartbeat. How it enhances sleep, mental clarity, emotional regulation, creativity, even longevity. From elite athletes using oxygen chambers to extend performance, to doctors applying hyperbaric therapy for healing, to everyday people practicing mindful breathing to ease anxiety, the message is clear. Oxygen is not just basic, it's sacred. Let's ask a question. What if we lived with that awareness? What if every breath was taken with reverence? What if, instead of rushing through life, we paused, just for a moment, to feel the gift of oxygen entering our lungs? How would that change your morning, your relationships, your sense of time? It doesn't take long. Try now. Inhale softly through your nose. Feel it fill you. Exhale gently. Feel it leave, and trust that more will come. This simple act is the foundation of life, and it's yours, freely, always. At Infinity Beyond, we believe that wisdom doesn't always come from the stars. Sometimes it comes from what's closest, from the ordinary made extraordinary by awareness, and oxygen is the perfect example. It's around you, within you, connecting you to everything and everyone. In every breath is a story of evolution, of chemistry, of resilience, of ancient trees and blue oceans and childhood laughter, of heartbreak and healing, of science and soul. Your body knows this. That's why it breathes, even when you forget to. But what if you remembered? What if, once a day, you thanked your breath? Not with words, but with presence, with stillness, with one deep inhale that says, I'm here, and one slow exhale that says, I trust. Would that change something? Would it shift the rhythm of your day, of your thoughts, of your life? Because when you honor your breath, you honor life. And in a world that moves so fast, that can feel so loud, so disconnected, breath is the quiet thread that brings you back. Back to your body, back to the moment, back to what matters. You don't need more information. You need more integration. And the breath, powered by oxygen, is the bridge. Tonight, let's return to that. Let's fall asleep knowing that even in unconsciousness, oxygen will be there, carrying nutrients, calming nerves, fueling dreams, a miracle you never have to earn. Let this final breath of the day be one of gratitude. Inhale, peace. Exhale, release. Inhale, aliveness. Exhale, surrender. This is not the end of the story. It's only the beginning. Because every time you return to your breath, you return to yourself. And that is the most powerful place to be. This is Infinity Beyond, where the quietest truths are often the greatest. Welcome back to Infinity Beyond. After everything we've explored, the biology, the chemistry, the emotion, the cosmic connection, perhaps the most important question is this: how can you bring the power of oxygen into your everyday life? Because knowledge without practice fades, but knowledge with ritual that becomes transformation. So today, we invite you into something simple, something timeless, a daily practice you can return to recharge, rebalance, and reconnect. A ritual rooted in breath. We call it the oxygen ritual. You don't need candles. You don't need music. You don't need apps or trackers. You only need yourself and a few moments of stillness. Let's begin. Step 1. Arrive. Wherever you are, standing, sitting, lying down, pause. Feel the weight of your body. Feel gravity holding you. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. Let yourself arrive in this moment, right here. You are safe. You are home. Step 2. Acknowledge. Place one hand on your chest, one on your belly. Feel your breath. Don't change it yet. Just observe. Is it fast, slow, deep, shallow? No judgment, just curiosity. This is your starting point. Step 3. Breathe. Now, inhale deeply through your nose. Fill your lungs from bottom to top, belly, ribs, chest. Hold for a moment. Then exhale slowly through your mouth, as if blowing out a candle. Again. Inhale peace. Exhale tension. Inhale energy. Exhale worry. Do this 5 times slowly. Let your body set the rhythm. Feel the oxygen entering, nourishing, awakening. Step 4. Focus. Bring your attention to one thing you're grateful for. It can be small, warm sunlight, a kind word, your beating heart. Let that feeling grow. Breathe into it. Gratitude enhances oxygen uptake. It lowers stress. It aligns mind and body. Step 5. Intent. With your next breath, set an intention for your day or your rest. It could be a word: calm, clarity, strength. It could be a phrase: I am enough. I move with purpose. I heal with breath. Say it silently on the inhale. Let it anchor you on the exhale. This turns your breath into a compass, guiding your actions from the inside out. Step 6. Close. Let your breath return to its natural rhythm. Feel the shift, the softness, the spaciousness. Smile gently. You've just done something extraordinary. You've partnered with oxygen. You've activated the chemistry of healing, the physics of presence, the biology of resilience. You've come home to yourself. This ritual takes just 3 minutes, but its effects ripple through your entire day. It shifts your nervous system. It clears your mind. It opens your heart. And it's free. Always available. Always within. You can use it. Before a stressful meeting, after an argument, before sleep, after waking. In nature. In chaos. In silence. Breath doesn't judge where you are. It only serves. It brings you back, not to who you were, but to who you are in this moment. Oxygen is not just a molecule. It's an invitation to slow down, to feel, to be. At Infinity Beyond, we don't just explore space and science. We explore you, the microcosm that mirrors the universe. And within you, oxygen is the quiet miracle at work. Let's make a pact. Every day, for the next week, return to this ritual. Let it become your baseline, your reset, your sacred pause. You don't need more hours. You need more presence. And presence begins with breath. So if you're tired, breathe. If you're lost, breathe. If you're grateful, breathe. If you're healing, breathe. Let breath be your ritual. Let oxygen be your ally. Because no matter what's happening around you, this sacred breath is yours. It's your birthright, your compass, your center. And every time you return to it, you return to your power. This is Infinity Beyond, where science becomes self-care and breath becomes transformation. Welcome back to Infinity Beyond. By now you've felt it, the shift, the realization that oxygen is not just science. It's a doorway, a teacher, a quiet invitation to wake up. In this segment, we explore how oxygen, the breath you take right now, is a path to presence, purpose, and even spiritual awakening. Let's begin with a question. How much of your life is spent unaware? Not unconscious, but unaware. Going through motions, scrolling, thinking 5 steps ahead, forgetting the taste of food, the sound of your breath, the feel of your own heartbeat. We call this normal, but it's not natural. What's natural is presence. What's natural is breath. What's natural is being here, now. And oxygen is the bridge. Each time you breathe with awareness, you disrupt the autopilot. You return to reality, not as a thought, but as a felt experience. You become embodied, connected, real. You start to notice more, the warmth of sunlight, the softness in your chest, the slight pause between inhale and exhale. These moments, so small, are actually immense. They are where life happens, and yet we spend years missing them. Oxygen asks you to stop missing, to start witnessing. There is a reason nearly every meditative and spiritual tradition begins with the breath. It's because it is always with you. It's the only system in your body that's both automatic and voluntary. You don't have to breathe, and yet you can choose to. That paradox is powerful, because when you choose to breathe with attention, you reclaim agency. You remind your system that you're not just reacting. You are responding. You are choosing. You are awake. And the more often you do it, the more your brain changes, the more your life shifts. Purpose is not something you find on a mountaintop. It's something you uncover, layer by layer, by becoming more present in the ordinary. The path to purpose starts with awareness, and awareness starts with breath. Let's try something together. Sit comfortably, place a hand on your heart. Close your eyes if that feels safe. Now, breathe in, and as you do, Ask silently, what matters to me right now? Don't force an answer. Just ask. Let it arise like mist off a lake. As you exhale, let go of anything that isn't that. Again. Inhale with presence. Exhale with intention. Over time, this practice becomes a compass. It brings you back again and again to your truth. You'll begin to notice what drains you, what feeds you, what resonates, what disorients. You'll begin to hear your own knowing beneath the noise of the world. And all of it, every realization, begins with oxygen. Not because oxygen is mystical, but because it's foundational. It fuels your brain, clears your body, grounds your energy, and gives you just enough space to choose something different. That space, that's where transformation happens. That's where you go from reacting to responding, from distraction to direction, from rushing to resting in what is. This is the oxygen path, and anyone can walk it. You don't need robes or rituals. You only need presence and practice. Try it when you wake up, before checking your phone. Try it while making tea. Try it before saying something reactive. Try it when you're alone, and the silence feels big. Let your breath remind you, you are here. That's all awakening really is. Remembering the truth that's already inside you. It's not about escaping the world. It's about being more alive in it. Feeling your feet, hearing your voice, letting life pass through you without needing to control or change it. And when it gets hard, and it will, oxygen is your anchor. In grief, breathe. In joy, breathe. In confusion, breathe. In clarity, breathe. Because in every breath is a chance to begin again. A new moment, a new awareness, a new choice. At Infinity Beyond, we don't believe you need to be perfect. We believe you need to be present. And oxygen, the most humble of molecules, is the reminder you need. So let your next breath be a bow to life, a bow to the mystery, a bow to the miracle that is you, fully here, fully awake, fully alive. This is Infinity Beyond, where breath becomes a portal to purpose. Welcome back to Infinity Beyond. You've practiced the oxygen ritual. You've honored your breath. But now let's go deeper, into the science behind stillness. Stillness is not emptiness. It's not doing nothing. It's not laziness or apathy. Stillness is activation of awareness, of healing, of presence. And oxygen plays a leading role. When you breathe deeply and slowly, your body begins to change in real time. Heart rate drops. Muscles relax. Blood pressure lowers. Inflammation decreases. Your brain shifts from high-frequency beta waves associated with alertness and stress into slower alpha and theta waves associated with calm, creativity, and even insight. But why does this happen? Let's look at your nervous system. You have two primary branches, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The sympathetic system is your fight-or-flight mode, activated in times of stress. It floods the body with adrenaline, increases your heart rate, and sends blood to your limbs. The parasympathetic system is your rest and digest mode. It calms you down. It promotes digestion, healing, immunity, and reflection. The bridge between these systems is breath. Specifically, the vagus nerve, the longest cranial nerve in the body, connects your brain to your heart, lungs, and gut, and it's stimulated most directly by slow, deep breathing. This stimulation is measurable. It increases heart rate variability, HRV, a marker of emotional flexibility, resilience, and nervous system balance. High HRV means your body can adapt quickly to change. It's a sign of health, and oxygen is central to it all. When your lungs fill fully, Oxygen receptors in the lower parts of your lungs send signals to the brainstem that it's safe, that you are not in danger, that it's okay to relax. This is biology affirming peace. Now, let's go to the brain. Studies show that just 5 minutes of deep breathing increases activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making, empathy, and self-awareness. It also reduces activity in the amygdala, which controls fear and threat detection. This isn't theory. It's MRI-confirmed neuroscience. By changing your breath, you're literally rewiring your brain. That's why deep breathing is used in trauma therapy, why it's part of Navy SEAL training, why monks have practiced it for millennia. Because it works, and it doesn't just change your state, it changes your traits. Over time, consistent breath practice leads to lower baseline anxiety, improved memory, greater patience, more balanced moods, and deeper sleep. It builds a brain and body that thrive on calm. You become less reactive, more responsive, less chaotic, more creative, less afraid, more open. And oxygen is the silent engine beneath it all. It's like a river, flowing through you, carving new neural paths, washing away stress, nourishing every cell. Even just watching your breath, not changing it, activates the insula, a brain region tied to emotional awareness. That's why breath-based meditation helps people better understand their own feelings and respond with compassion rather than impulse. Stillness, then, is not a passive state. It's a dynamic reorganization of your whole system, body, mind, and breath moving in synchrony. And yet, we often avoid it. Why? Because stillness can be uncomfortable. It reveals what we've been ignoring. But in that discomfort lies healing. Your body knows how to heal. Your brain knows how to rewire. All you have to do is stop long enough and breathe. So let's practice now. Sit or lie down. Close your eyes. Feel the weight of your body. Feel the air on your skin. And now breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Hold. Exhale gently. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. Inhale safety. Exhale stress. Inhale light. Exhale noise. Let your thoughts drift like clouds. Let your body melt. Let the science do its work. This is not magic. It's not mysticism. It's mechanism. Oxygen is changing your chemistry, and stillness is amplifying it. At Infinity Beyond, we believe in blending data and depth, in honoring both evidence and experience. And the science of stillness, powered by breath, is one of the most powerful tools we have. So tomorrow, when life rushes in, when the inbox fills, the phone buzzes, the thoughts race, pause. Return to your breath. Reclaim your rhythm. Remember that stillness is not absence, it's presence. And it begins with oxygen. You don't need to escape to a mountaintop. You don't need perfect silence. You only need one breath, fully felt, fully received. This is how we heal. This is how we grow. This is how we remember who we are. This is Infinity Beyond, where stillness becomes science. Welcome back to Infinity Beyond. We've traveled a long way together, from the microscopic dance of oxygen in your cells to the stars where oxygen was born, from the brain's inner landscapes to the wisdom of silence, through science and stillness, healing and wonder. And now, we arrive at the last breath of this journey, but not an end, a return, because that's the nature of breath, of oxygen, of life. It always returns. Inhale, exhale, begin again. You are not the same person who took the first breath of this series. With each inhale, you've absorbed new awareness. With each exhale, you've released something. Tension, assumptions, fear. That's what oxygen does. It carries more than air. It carries memory, movement, meaning. Let's take a moment to reflect. The next time you draw breath, remember this. That oxygen may have passed through ancient forests, through the lungs of whales, the petals of flowers, the heart of a child. It may have floated above mountain peaks, flowed across oceans, spun through the spirals of a galaxy. And now, it's inside you. This makes you not separate from the world, but deeply entangled with it. Physically, chemically, spiritually. You are part of the whole. That's what presence teaches us. That we're not small, isolated individuals. We're nodes in a breathing web of life. We give, we receive, and through it all, oxygen binds us. Even now, this breath you're taking may be the very one that your body needs most. To heal, to shift, to rest, to remember. So don't rush it. Let it in slowly. Let it go gently. Let it become sacred again. Let it remind you that you are here. You are enough. You are breathing. And that is everything. And when you forget, because we all do, return. Return to your lungs. Return to your heartbeat. Return to the present. That is the practice, not perfection, not performance, just remembering, again and again. At Infinity Beyond, we believe in these moments. The quiet ones, the small ones, the ones filled with meaning no algorithm can measure. This entire journey has been built on them, and it continues every time you choose to breathe with intention. Every time you remember that oxygen isn't just survival, it's aliveness. So whether you're watching this at night or during your morning, whether you're sitting still or walking through your day, let this final message settle into your bones. You are connected. You are vital. You are stardust, and lungs, and spirit. And it all begins again with breath. Thank you for walking this journey with us. This is Infinity Beyond, where the breath never ends.